WolverThor!
Hey everybody, welcome back. In this video, we're going to do another character review, this time for Mr. Fantastic. We're going to look at his abilities, the energy that he starts with these abilities, and more importantly, from my perspective, and the part that I kind of try to bring to these is the stats and kind of his T4 rankings and where they kind of fall in line with everything else. Obviously, we're still missing Sue, but, you know, it's starting to become a decent picture on what this team's going to be like and how strong they could be. And that's without even knowing what the legendary character is all about. So let's get right to it. All right, so here we go. Mr. Fantastic, 45 shard unlock, but Hero Cosmic, Bio Controller, Fantastic Four, and currently Marvel 80th. So let's look at his basic. It's damage and chain, essentially. You know, it eventually increases in damage, and then if you want to get his T formats on this, it's an additional third target to the chain, and then obviously counter breaks this. We'll look at MSF.GG in a second and kind of go over the overall percentage of damage here, but you know, and then the energy for the other items. But this is his basic's pretty simple. It's just a damage dealer, and it can potential chain if there's no counters. His special, this isn't a damage dealer with a chance to stun. The only way to get a guaranteed stun, though, is with T formats. A little bit annoyed with that, but it is what it is. So there's a chance that you might want to end up dumping those T4s in that just to get a guaranteed stun, but anyway. Ultimate, this is an interesting one where it's a clear defense up from primary target and then attack for, you know, a certain amount of damage. And then you gain an insane amount of focus, so you basically always clear the defense up. So this will be nice, you know, potentially against X-Men, specifically against Colossus, so you almost always remove that buff. But, you know, not a lot of people are using X-Men on defense in war, so, you know, I'm not sure it's the right answer or not. But regardless, it'll be a nice clear for, you know, anybody who's got defense up whenever you want to pop this ability. And then for his passive, this is where, you know, it kind of brings in the help from the team. It's about resistance for himself and the Fantastic Four / Namor allies. And then as you go up, when actually before I get to that, one of the most critical aspects of this is essentially I call the Miss Marvel aspect of this, where it's like on his and each Fantastic Four ally's turn, there's a chance to get assist now to any of the Fantastic Four and Namor. So it's basically Miss Marvel. It ends up capping out at 100% in the, I think it's the T5 when you get it, and we'll see that in a second in MSF, but .GG. But that's what this ability is about, is more focus, more resistance, and assists. So the last T4 is some additional, you know, focus for him and his team. And he also actually has this Yondu type ability where it's on his turn. He chooses, you know, depending on how high you've got it up, 2 to 3 enemies. And if they have a positive effect, he removes one. So that's interesting. So he's this interesting kind of Miss Marvel, Yondu, plus buff mix here in his passive. So let's jump over to MSF.GG and look at the energy here and then the overall numbers of these abilities. All right, again, so his basic, you can see it goes up to 190 chain 2, and then it, you know, increases by about 40 and 40. So that's not too bad. So his special looks like it starts with 4 energy up to a possible 6. So that you're not going to get that for a couple turns. So I'm not sure I'd want to dump T formats into this. We'll get into that in a second when we talk about the T formats. But third turn stun, I'm not sure how much I love that. But, you know, 400% to 330 to 400% damage, pretty good. His ultimate, it starts with 3 energy. It only takes 3 energy, so this is likely your first turn use, assuming somebody's got defense up. It's, again, at level 6, it's 390% damage, and, you know, your T4 goes up another 60. Seems decent enough. And then again, we've already talked about the passes, and we'll get into the T4 in a second, but it maxes out at 20, and like I said, with T4s, actually at even level 4, you get the 100% assist. So before we get into the T4s, let's actually look over his stats. All right, for those of you who are new to the channel or haven't seen this before, basically what the spreadsheet is it takes all the information from MSF.GG, where it gives you stats, and I put them into a spreadsheet and kind of rank them. So then I can kind of see where each character, you know, lines up for health, damage, etc., and how those ranks kind of average out. So I can essentially say on an average basis, this toon is the 4th best stat toon in the game. Right now I've got this actually, oh, and before I get to this is that these are based on stats at level 70, 7 yellow stars, 0 red stars, T11. I feel like that's a reasonably, you know, decent spot to get most of these characters. So Mr. Fantastic, he comes in at around 40th on his average rank. Surprisingly, his overall stats are 15th in the game, so that's pretty good. You know, again, these Fantastic Four folks, and you can kind of see them on the sheet here, is they're coming in at a pretty decent level as far as specific to the ranks. So let's look at where his ranks are. Health, it's about 102k, comes in 10th, pretty solid. I'm a little bit surprised by that. I know he can stretch and elongate, etc., but I normally think of, you know, heavy health folks as, you know, your bigger, beefier type of characters. His damage, this is at the bottom half of the toons in the game. It comes in at 76. I'm okay with that. Seems about right. I don't see him as a big damage type character. Armor, about the same. Bottom half, 82nd, and same comment. I wouldn't expect him to have a whole bunch of armor. Focus is 3rd. That I 100% agree with. You know, I can't imagine, you know, there's too many more, you know, Dark Phoenix is 1, and I'm not sure. Let's see if I can see the number 1 here as I'm just looking. And Pyro is the other. So he's the 3rd, you know, highest focus in the game. So I'm good with that. Resistance at 20th. This is pretty high. I think that makes sense given his skin can kind of elongate, etc. It's, you know, it hopefully keeps him from getting debuffs, you know, anything along those lines. So, but the resistance, you know, it's high. Maybe I'm slightly surprised by how high it is, but it's still pretty, I think, reasonable given, you know, what his body can do. Speed, he comes in at right around just above the top half, or, you know, within the top half, I should say. I don't want to be too confusing. There's, you know, 111, 112 toons in the game, and he's at 54, so he's right around that halfway part. So that's pretty good, I think. You know, you expect, you know, someone, a scientist, maybe to be a little bit slower, so it's good to see his speed, you know, be that high. So again, in overall rank, you know, like I said, his average rank is, you know, 40.8. If you're just looking at damage, speed, and HPs, you know, a little bit lower than that, worse than that, at 46. And then he comes in at the 15th best ranked character in the game. Checks all the boxes I'd want as far as stats go. So let's get into the T4s and see how those stack up. For those of you who are new to the channel, I rank all of the T4 abilities in the game. I give them kind of general classifications and then rank them within those classifications. It goes from great to good to okay, meh, crap, total crap, and then, like I said, I do a numerical ranking within those. So specific to the damage ones, though, and that's what you're kind of seeing on the screen at the moment, is that I rank them based on the damage increase, so that I know how much I'm kind of getting for that T4. If it's a 10% increase, but my base damage is so high that it gives me, you know, more damage than someone who's got a 100% increase but their base damage is so low, I like to see that. So that's where, when I talk about the rank of increase, that's what I mean by that. So let's get to specifically where Mr. Fantastic's T4 abilities go in the rankings. All right, the first one I got up here is a special. I haven't deemed this one as a solid or essential or anything like that. It's the one I mentioned before. It's a damage increase plus the guaranteed stun. That damage increase comes ranked in at 49th, which isn't bad. It's pretty solid, but I don't know. I'm just a 3rd turn stun there. We'll see. I don't know. You're probably only using this ability once in a fight, so I'm not sure that you really need to use this or upgrade this. Next up, his ult. I've also got that in the good category, plus 60% damage. So we've got, you know, that's 66th rank. Again, this might be able to move up a little bit just because of the short cooldown. You're using this first, you're probably using it a second time, so you're getting a decent mileage on the upgrade there. But right now, I've only kind of got it as a good category, so it's okay. All right, next up is his basic. I've got this basic put in the okay category. Again, it's additional damage. You gain 1 additional chain on this attack, but again, it's broken if it's countered. So this rank is 118 as far as damage increase. So the damage increase is not really the reason you're probably going to do this. And the gaining only of one additional target on the chain, I don't know. I don't love it. I think it's just kind of like, all right, it's decent, but I don't know. So you can see right below it is his passive. Now, there's a good chance I'm likely going to move this passive up, but I kind of want to hold off on doing that until I think it's actually required or not to for Namor's alt. If it's required for the alt or any of the other or really Human Torch to put debuffs down, then maybe I'm talking about it, but I'm not sure that it's required. So right now what this does is it gives you an additional 10% focus for himself and the other Fantastic Four allies, plus it gives you an additional buff to remove from random toons. But again, like Yandu, he could pick a random person who doesn't have any buffs. So I'm like, well, if he picks people who don't have them, then I'm not sure I care. So, you know, again, he's picking these random enemies from 2 enemies to 3 enemies. Maybe he removes 1 buff, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. I'm not sure it's worth the T4s. So that's kind of where I've currently got it. If the focus is needed, this will definitely move up the charts. All right, so that's it as far as the stats, abilities, energy, and T4s. Let's talk about the conclusion and what we see this guy as a big picture. All right, so Mr. Fantastic. You can see his stats rank him pretty high. He's a solid stat type character. His abilities are decent. His passive is good. You know, whether you need to upgrade that into T4s, I don't know. Again, I'm not really seeing a ton of necessary T4s from him. Maybe that passive. You know, some of the extra damage, okay. Again, the basic wasn't a big damage dealer. The special, you know, you're only using that every so often. But, you know, the alt maybe there. I don't know. We'll see. So as far as the character goes, he's clearly essential to the Fantastic Four. I love the assists. That's probably the biggest thing he's bringing in there, so you've got to have him with him. You get that 100% assist with level 4, which I'm really thankful for. You don't have to put any T formats into it to get that. And his stats are higher than I expected, so I might not, you know, jump all over him as far as getting shards for him. You know, I think for sure Thing and Namor, those guys are pretty... I'm surprised I like Thing as much as I did based on his stats, but I do. Mr. Fantastic right now, I think is, you know, he's a solid complementary piece to this team. So again, I'm still excited to see how these guys go. We don't know what Sue's going to bring to the table, but even before she's in, you can see the stats in this team are high end. So if she does anything to make these guys better, I think it's probably going to be the best war offense in the game, beating almost anything. We'll see though. I'm still a little bit skeptical on, you know, the Ultron teams, but if it's planned right and Namor can knock out those buffs with his ult, I don't know. I think they're going to be a top-tier war team that everyone's going to want to have. So appreciate you guys stopping by. I hope this video helped. If it did, you know, hammer down that like button, click the subscription button, you know, click that notification bell, leave a comment, you know, share with your friends, all kinds of different things. Like I always say, I just try to do the videos to share kind of how I approach the game, and I hope it helps you guys. So appreciate you coming by and hope to see you again soon. Thanks.